Can you ride or drive off-road in the UK? In this video, I'll attempt to answer this question. I say attempt because there's not a simple, straightforward answer. The fact that it's so complicated is, shall we say, part of the problem. Unless you're an expert on rights of way, definitive maps and ancient byways, you can easily find yourself somewhere you shouldn't be. This is frustrating for people who just want to enjoy the pleasures of taking a motor vehicle off-road. Keep watching to find out why and how to navigate your way through this political minefield. I'm not talking about competition riding like trials or enduro, or riding on your own land or others with their permission or for a fee. I'm referring to the roads, tracks and trails in the UK that are freely available for public use, commonly referred to as green lanes, although I've noticed the term green roads is now being used, but for the purpose of this video they mean the same thing. The issue is so contentious that I feel the need to say I'm not an expert and this is not legal advice. It's a personal perspective on the matter. Take it or leave it, but please don't try to use it to justify your adventures off-road. I hate to say it, but do your own research. A good place to start is the Trial Riders Fellowship, or TRF, an organisation that represents green laning motorcyclists. There are other organisations for 4x4 drivers. There's a lot more to this subject, but I will try to keep it as simple as I can while providing the context and information you need to get yourself started. I've been riding motorcycles since I got my moped at 16. It was a Honda MT50, a trail bike, not a trials bike, essentially a road bike with off-road styling and some off-road capability. The style inspired freedom and adventure, and I loved the idea of being able to venture off the beaten track a bit. I rode it around the local woods and waste grounds, where I quickly learnt not only how to handle a bike, but also how to escape being caught by the local plod. At this point, I still had no idea about green lanes. Then I picked up an old Kawasaki KL250. Being a fully grown-up 19-year-old, I decided to find out where I could ride legally, and my passion for green laning began. At this point, I need to explain what green lanes are. They are legal unsurfaced tracks that you can drive on, as long as your vehicle is fully legal to drive on normal roads, taxed, insured, MOT'd and in a safe condition. In the UK, we have motorways, A roads, B roads and unclassified roads. Prior to 1950, green lanes were included in the unclassified roads, and there were lots of them. They're referred to as UCRs. After 1950, things started to get complicated, and it's only got worse since then. Road used as public path, or RUP, was introduced, a deliberately ambiguous and unnecessary new classification designed to confuse access. Many of the UCR green lanes were now RUPs. RUPs took on the status of a right-of-way. This sounds great, you may say. It's a right-of-way. But if you stop and think about it for a while, this is like someone declaring control over your motorcycle and then giving you the right to use it. It's easily taken away. Before this, these lanes were simply there for our use. RUPs joined footpaths and bridleways as rights-of-way and supported by what is called the definitive map, controlled, you guessed it, by the local council. In about 1970, to confuse matters worse, byways open to all traffic, or boats, were introduced. If you take a look at either a Land Ranger or Explorer Ordnance Survey map, you'll find these rights of way along with a disclaimer absolving OS from any mistakes they or you make. Basically, back when I started in 1986, you were pretty safe if you kept to the RUPs and boats. I scoured the local maps and busily got to work with my highlighter. With my good friend Nick, we rode every inch of these green lanes numerous times. We got stuck, broke down and laughed. I remember the day we discovered proper enduro tyres. It was the best upgrade I ever did to a bike. Unfortunately, those days were not to last. Unbeknown to us, central government and local authorities were being lobbied by people determined to take away our pastime. They were mainly walkers who were very well organised and active members of the Ramblers Association. It had a very large membership, although many were ambivalent about green laners. They provided the mandate and finances for the hardliners to pursue their objective to eradicate motor vehicles from green lanes, and they were uncompromising. The government introduced legislation and policies to allow local authorities to review rights of way, and RUPs were either reclassified as byways open to all traffic or restricted byways. Restricted byway is a confusing term. Restricted doesn't mean a byway with restrictions. It means no motor vehicles at all. This makes the signage ambiguous. Imagine a restricted footpath or bridleway that's never open to walkers or horses. The restricted byway gave the power to councils to exclude motor vehicles from hundreds of miles from previously open green lanes. At this point, I need to let you know about the extent of these roads used as public paths. I don't know the exact percentage of rights of way that were RUPs, but it was tiny in comparison to footpaths and bridleways. At best, I would say about 5%. Given the ramblers could walk the bridleways as well, this gave them virtually exclusive use of the vast majority of rights of way. But they still weren't happy. These ancient byways, which had existed for hundreds and in some cases thousands of years, were literally wiped off the map, at least as far as motor vehicles were concerned. Thankfully, the TRF did what they could, and along with resistance from other organisations, some locals and fair-minded parishes and councils, many were reclassified as boats. Let me know if I'm wrong, but hats off to places like Wiltshire that did the decent, fair and right thing by simply reclassifying the RUPs as boats. My own council, North Somerset, weren't nearly as tolerant. Of the few RUPs we had, I don't think one became a boat. Again, let me know in the comments if you know otherwise. So you told us all this when you could have simply said get an ordnance survey map and stick to the boats, I hear you say. I think that's what the government would like, but you'd be missing out. Let's just say it's complicated. Those UCRs I spoke about earlier haven't gone away, and to make it even more confusing, there's even something called an ORPA, other route with public access. The bottom line is, they've made it very difficult to know if it's a green lane or not. Even the signage cannot be relied upon. From experience, locals are unlikely to be very helpful either. Here's your options. 1. Grab that OS map and stick to the boats. 2. Find a local rider that knows the lanes and may even take you on a guided ride. 3. Join and ride with the TRF. 4. Subscribe to the TRF or GLASS Green Lane Association to access their maps. 5. Finally, there's the Trans-European Trail or TET. This is not a map of all UK green lanes, but has threaded together a route that is mainly small tarmac lanes but also includes a lot of green lanes. Just to say that treating others as you would like to be treated has worked quite well for me.
Thank you. Cheers.
That said, if you go green laning enough, you can expect some hostility. As you might expect, the TRF have a lot of information, including a code of conduct. Although I've been a member in the past, I never got involved with a local group. You don't have to affiliate with the TRF or, for that matter, any other organisation to access green lanes. I hope you found this video interesting and informative. Taking on a contentious topic isn't easy, and I suspect I may have raised a few hackles. I've done my best to be accurate and fair, but let me know politely in the comments if you disagree.
You alright?
Hey.
Hello.
Same idea today.
Some like-minded people.